doing, buddy? How are the Cavs? How are the Cavs doing?
Last I checked, still halftime down 25. Not a good night. 35 total, like 35, 38 points in the first half, something like that. They were held
Oh,
to like under 15 in the second quarter.
oh God.
Philly's got our number tonight. It's not looking good.
Oh man, no, that's not looking good at all. Um, that's that's awful. Is anyone hurt right now?
No, we're 100% healthy. We're just playing like
76ers are, dude,
dog pep.
76ers are that team though.
Yeah, they're good. They're definitely not bad. But hey, on a positive note, pitchers and catchers reported this week, so baseball season is officially here too.
Dude, that's crazy. I forgot dude, this is a big weekend. You have pitchers and catchers, you got the Daytona 500, you got the Genesis Invitational with Tiger's return.
Yep.
There's a UFC
I
card.
boosted bet on that for him to make the cut at plus 200 on FanDuel.
I didn't get that. I couldn't boost it on mine, but I am also taking Tiger Woods to make the cut. I like that. You heard it here, everybody. Tiger Woods to make the cut. It's happening. Well, welcome back, Recliner Sports Reporters, to another week's episode of Keep the Change podcast. I'm Mac, and with me, as always, is Robbie. Big weekend this past weekend, man. Super Bowl. Let's just get right into it. What were your first thoughts, man?
And it was a good game, and I can't even remember any of the game because of how it ended. Just such a petty call to end the game, really. They robbed us of what could have been a classic. I mean, you never know. They could have been 4 and out real quick from Philly, too. But, man, they still had a chance. 90 plus seconds left to go, drive down the field, get in field goal range. Who knows what would happen in overtime? But they threw the flag and ended it.
The real question is, though, are we surprised?
No, I mean, the NFL got who they wanted to win. The new poster boy is Patty Mahomes. So,
I think
they
with
got it.
that, though, they've
One
also,
thing that just really blew my mind is I have always been a huge Travis Kelce fan. But man, he kind of turned into a dick after that game.
dude, I
Like
was
talking
just
about
about to
we
say
expected
we
us
got,
to do it.
we,
Nobody thought we could do it. Dude, you guys were the preseason favorites to win the Super Bowl.
right? We just got our first new villain since as Tom Brady leaves, which, mind you, I always loved Tom Brady. I just know everyone always took him as the villain. Our new villain has entered the NFL Phase 4. Just like Marvel, here comes Phase 4, the Grim Reaper and Travis Kelce, who has all of a sudden, I've always been a big Kelce fan too. But man, he just is like, you know what he's kind of acting like is like that kid at the college party who won like 4 games of beer pong in a row and is just like now just like running the table, and you're just like, all right, and he's like shouting in everyone's faces like, you counting me out, and it's just like, bro, it's just beer pong, man, like good games, but like why all of a sudden you acting like this? It's like the guy that got a little too liquored up at the party. That's what he's kind of acting like right now, and you're like, you're not a bad dude, but like you're just coming off like a dick right now. And I don't know. And again, I really like Travis, but
Apparently,
I'm
it's a Kansas City team too. I saw something. Their offensive line was all wearing shirts mocking Philly's defensive line. It was black shirts with Kelly Green big zero and said sacks under it.
wow. Well, I that was one of my actually going to be one of my things I want to bring up was I thought for sure there was going to be a lot of pressure on Mahomes after the Bengals got because the Bengals got to him. And I wouldn't say, I mean, I think the Bengals D line is great, but I wouldn't say that the Eagles D line isn't as good as the the Eagles D line, and they still couldn't get to Pat. And I don't think they even got to him one time. Actually,
No,
weirdly enough,
I thought
the
that came down to field conditions too.
a lot of slipping, but I also again like, dude, the amount of times I saw Hassan Reddick just fully tackled to the ground. Like I felt bad for that dude. He got
Yeah.
obliterated on that edge, and it wasn't even fair. Like it was clearly like you see times where he's spinning out of moves and he's getting his back held and then literally dragged to the ground, and you're like, is anyone going to call any holdings here? And it was just nothing, 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 nothing. The refs only pulled out their flags when the game looked like they could change the game. And that's when they decided to throw out their flags. That's what it felt like.
Yeah. But it is what it is. If you beat them enough that those flags don't matter, you walk away and win. But if you keep it close, leave them in the game, and you
Yeah.
give the officials a chance that they can control it.
Yeah. And again, there's lots that can be talked about that game. There's lots of other moments. But some things that stood out. I mean, Jalen Hurts, what an epic performance. You know,
Oh,
three rushing touchdowns and one passing. Like, dude,
first Super Bowl history.
he did everything on his end. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and Pat on a one leg, supposedly one leg. He went and played a heck of a game himself too. And then credit to both offensive lines. I think the only sack that was given up, which is funny, I don't even know if it went to a player. I think it was a pressure sack because he actually ran out of bounds but lost a
Yep.
yard, and they listed it as a sack. So I don't know if they give that to like the last guy who touched him or how they break that down. Um, but yeah, that was both offensive lines played a clean game. Both offensive lines had running games going. Again, like it was a high scoring affair. And I think, defensively, those units played as best as they could. They were playing against two of the best offenses in the league. So
Yeah.
it was definitely a show. Loved every we started off. It was one of the best Super Bowls in a long time that we've watched, and to be ending like that with no chance of anything else, it's just not fair to the players. It felt like. All right, so that takes us to next season, man. Who's your pre-draft favorites for next year's Super Bowl?
Well, my heart always obviously is going to want to say the Cleveland Browns, but my mind's a little bit more intelligent than that. Hoping that we don't suck as bad as we did this past year. Next year, and full year of Stefanski and Watson, we can either figure out if Stefanski's the guy or if we need to get back on that coaching
Yeah,
carousel again and go find somebody
is
else.
Stefanski staying in Cleveland, you think?
This year, yeah, they said they're going to guarantee him 1 year with one full season with Watson to see what he can do because they just said they used the excuse that they had to change so much of the playbook once he came back and they just couldn't run a full offense. If that's the case, then why didn't you keep playing Jacoby?
Right.
That was what gave the team the best chance to win. You're still in a playoff race at that point. You pretty much just punted on the season so you could get Deshaun Watson out there and get a little rush score off. But I mean, I get it. You paid him $250 million. You have to do that. But
Yeah, that's tough because you didn't really have a full season with the guy you paid that much money to. So, and you were playing with essentially a backup quarterback the whole season. Um, Although, again, I don't think, they did that bad. I just think that they didn't have their full weapons. So I think you guys are tough in the division. I see you really having making a shot to win the division. I definitely think you guys make the playoffs next year. I think I think you're a tough team. I think defensively you guys have always been assignment sound. I do know that you're definitely always a tough opponent for the Bengals, which are my favorites, of course, to pick to win the division. I don't think Lamar. I think this is going to have a really weird ending in with Baltimore right now. I think that's going to be an ugly season, kind of like your guys's Baker season last year. You know what I'm saying? Just like it's just gonna be ugly. Like I just think it's not gonna be good for the team. Um let's see. My pick to win. I think the Eagles run it back, man. I think the Eagles, if they I think again, they were kind of sitting where the Bengals were last year on like, all right. you made it that far. You have a couple pieces that you need to pick up, but like honestly, they're pretty stacked across the board. So it's really going to come down to
Yeah.
what extensions they're going to be able to keep, what players they're going to be able to keep, who's their draft's going to be, and then what free agents they pick up. But the thing is, I think it's all just addition, right? They're all just going to get addition players. They keep the key guys as much as they can, depending on their cap space. But I see the Eagles running it back, and I see them being really dangerous again next year.
Yeah, the only fear I have for them is losing Steichen and Gannon, both offensive and defensive coordinators. So gonna have to get new play callers in there, but they
It
definitely
really,
have
because
all
it
the weapons.
really does. It makes a difference. The play callers,
All
doesn't it?
four teams. I'm taking the same two teams from the NFC. I think the Niners and Eagles are,
The
just
Niners
just
are
don't in the NFC.
the
And then
Niners are a quarterback away.
I know the Chiefs won it this year. My two favorites are you guys in Buffalo.
I think Buffalo needs a good run game, so they need to pick up a better running back. I think a run game makes them unstoppable. Right now, they're too one dimensional, and they can't keep just relying on Allen. But I agree. I think the 49ers are one quarterback away from really just making
Man, what are you
a.
talking about? Once cousin Brock gets healthy, they're there.
That's true. That's true. And it's going to definitely make an interesting move to see what'll happen with like Garoppolo and all that. So, um, yeah, the 49ers are there, man. But I don't see anyone else from the NFC. I mean, I don't know. You always think the Cowboys are in it, but then they shoot themselves in their own foot, and then
There's the
it's it's al-
Vikings.
it's almost laughable at this point watching to watch the downfall of the Cowboys just self-inflict every season. Ever since Romo too, man. I swear to God, the curse of the Romo, ever since that botched what was the extra point, there's just
Yep.
yep, there it's been just snowball effect ever since. All right, man. Well, RIP to the 2022-2023 NFL season. It was a great one. The one thing I will close on, I don't know about just me, besides the Thursday night football games, I feel like every single week there was just really, really close, competitive games. Very few blowouts. There were a few, but very few. And week to week, man, it was just so competitive and so fun. I'm excited to see what the draft's going to bring. We'll have to do a little research on who we think our draft picks are going to be. But I think it was a heck of a season. What about you?
Oh yeah, it was a good season. There's a lot of good football played. A lot of teams, you know, who going into the season expected Danny Dimes and the Giants to be fighting for the playoffs? And there were just a lot of surprises this year. Jacksonville really took a step up. Trevor Lawrence seemed like he really made a big leap. There's just a lot of teams that surprised people this year.
Yeah, and it
So
sets the
like
stage.
a game. That's the great part of it. It doesn't matter what you look like on paper before the season starts.
It really
Just get a bunch
does.
of guys in there that buy in, and you never know what can happen.
Yeah, and I think a lot of teams showed it, the first couple weeks as much as, yeah, it matters. I think really what it comes down to is what happens after like weeks 4, 5, and 6. Those are like the first 2 weeks. I think everyone shows that
What
like,
adjustments do you make after your bye week?
yeah, I think that's really what it comes down to. And like even like a team like Pittsburgh, right, who shockingly got eliminated like week 6. They were already eliminated, or like week, I don't know, it was really early, like week 6 or 8, they were like eliminated from the playoffs and then came down to they almost got in. So like even that, you're just like, hey, it really, I think that extra week, as much as like it's it's different, I like it. I'm starting to like it now. It really does. That extra week makes a whole big difference on the whole entire season.
Yeah, and I mean, we'd all rather have nothing against those lower guys on the roster, but preseason games are boring.
Yep.
I mean, nobody really likes going watching a bunch of guys that they don't know 90% of the names. And it's just not the same quality product that's put out there.
No, it's almost like you're going to watch like the spring training game at like you're at the college practice, like the red and white.
Yeah.
You're it's cool because you get to see the players on the field, but like you said, for the most part, and I know like for instance, like the Bengals, Joe had his appendix out, so I'm sure he would have got a couple snaps, but like majority of history is like you don't really see the starters playing that much, and so you're not really seeing, like you said, you're not really seeing the guys you want to see. You're just kind of seeing your team, which is still fun, but not the same product at all.
No. It's cool if you live 15 minutes away, not when you're driving a couple hours both ways.
Yeah, what is that drive for you to the Brown Stadium? Like two
On a
hours?
normal day, about 2 hours both ways. Christmas Eve, after we had that snowstorm, it took about 3.5, 3 hours, 45 minutes to get up there for the game. Sit through negative 35-degree weather and watch a team that's already been eliminated from the playoffs. Try to drink the beer before it freezes.
Yeah, right. That's when I tell you what though, it's tough to play in Cleveland late in the season, man. You guys, I mean, I think New England was kind of the same thing. They have just an advantage. Um, which brings my next point is all games should be scheduled in the warmer states towards the end of season. That's how it should be. If I was an NFL player, I know, right? You're like, no, that's like the home field. That is like a real home field advantage. If I was a player, I would. I remember I hated the cold, man. I hated playing in the cold. But I will admit how intimidating it is. Like I still remember like the Joe Burrow when they went to the New England and it was blistering cold and Mac Jones is rocking, the head warmer and long sleeve, two gloves, and Joe Burrow's just got short sleeves on and just like what a savage. What an intimidation factor,
David Njoku every single game warms up without a shirt on.
right?
Doesn't that day when it was, I mean, I'm sure it was a little warmer down there being on the field, but it was reading negative 35 with the wind chill. I mean, it was cold up there. That dude's down there, no shirt on.
Which
Got
brings
his
it to
legs, headphones on, just running around smiling.
which, you say that's a good point. Does it get warmer, you think, on the field? Like how much warmer you think it is on the field? Because you're surrounded, I guess, by the whole stadium.
Yeah, but no, I mean, they have warmers. They have those big torpedo, like kerosene heaters down there, but yeah, I don't think it can be that much warmer. I'm sure it's a little bit, but 5 degrees, 10 degrees, maybe. Nothing
I'm,
drastic. It's not.
I've always wanted to know what it was like to put your helmet on one of those warmers and then be able to put it on afterwards, or even just sitting on like one of the heated benches. I bet that would be so nice.
Oh
I
yeah.
used I used to hate playing in the cold when I moved up to Ohio, man. That was miserable. Oh, I was such a wuss. Florida boy, such a wuss. Um, well, here's to next season. Can't wait to start seeing what the draft's going to unfold. I'm sure we're going to have some crazy moves. I know we've already had some crazy moves. Derek Carr just got released finally by the Raiders, so I know that the wheels are in motion for just some crazy. Yeah, right. There's just going to be some craziness. I know coaching changes throughout the league have already flipped up. I'm happy to announce that Bengals coordinators. I know you were talking about earlier. Coordinators do make a difference. For the Eagles losing them, I mean, you look at a team like the Patriots last year who couldn't figure out who their coordinator was, um, and how mismanaged a guy like Mac Jones was. Really led to them not being successful this year. And then they go and make a good move, bringing Bill O'Brien back, which is the right move for them. But I'm just thankful, like Lou. Again, I think Lou and the OC could go be head coaches at other teams, but it's good to know that we're going to have our guys back that know the system. They don't have to get a feel for anything new. So it really does make a difference having good coordinators in the booth. All right, man. Well, let's transition a little bit to basketball. So tell the viewers, man, what's been the lines you've been keeping an eye on this season?
So I bet 90% Cavs when it comes to basketball, just because I watch every game, so I have a pretty decent feel. There's some safe bets if you're putting together some, long leg parlays that you're gonna get, man, 90% of nights. one of them might miss here or there, but 10 points, 8 rebounds apiece from Jared Allen and Evan Mobley. I like going 15 points, sometimes 20, depending on who we're playing, a piece from Garland and Mitchell. Those guys both are usually good for two threes a game. And the other one I like is Isaac Okoro for the three. Just one. All for about the first month of the year, they had the line for him every game at point 0.5 for threes. And it was plus money for a good part of the month too. And that was just, I mean, he shot over 50% from three for the month of January. I mean, he's not a volume shooter, but if you're shooting 50%, you only got to get two up for one to go in most nights. So they finally caught on to that. It's not plus money anymore. They've moved the line up to 1.5 a couple of times, but I still feel safe with it. Anytime I see it at 0.5 for him, I'm going to take the over. I like that kid. He's really stepped up a lot this year and starting to figure things out.
What and what about Mitchell? What about Mitchell's?
Mitchell looks healthy again. He's finally looking healthy. He had that groin injury, some lower leg injury, or some leg injury. He just looked hesitant there for a few games when he came back, like he wasn't trusting himself. He didn't have that same type of explosiveness. But 2, 3 games ago, can't remember who we were playing. The second half, you could tell he seemed like he finally felt good again.
He's
His
finally
jump shot back. He was making those explosive drives to the basket. His Euro step's crazy, just reaching the ball up over people. And he's a fun player to watch.
he really is, and he's a dog, man. That dude's as tough as they come. Last week after our podcast, there were some crazy, crazy moves right at the trade
Wow.
deadline.
Yeah. Talk about
Kyrie,
that.
Kyrie to the Mavs. What's your thoughts on that one?
And I haven't got to watch a game, which I don't know if Luka's back healthy. I think he is now, but I haven't got to watch those two together. And I'm curious to see how they'll gel because they're both very ball dominant players, but both can spot up and shoot too. So I feel like they can definitely benefit from each other. It's just a matter of if there's enough ball to go around, make everybody happy. But there's been teams that have proven that they can do that. I mean, Golden State, that was the big question with them for years. And is there enough ball to go around to keep everybody happy? But they found ways to make it work. And speaking of the other part of that Brooklyn tandem that got broken up, KD going to the Suns, joining Devin Booker, Chris Paul. That's another team out of the West now that you got to watch out for. I mean, it's hard to see anyone in the West, if that team's healthy, being favored over them in a 7-game series.
Yeah, and I know like I'm a big Chris Paul fan. I've always loved watching him play. You just want to see him win one, and but I hate that KD's there now. I
Yeah.
don't want to see KD win another one. So who do you think has a better chance though? Because that's crazy that those two teams with the rivalry that's kind of bloomed over the last year between those two teams, the Suns and the Mavs, and now
Yeah.
you took the Nets
Add that to it.
player and split them up and created, and you could kind of feel like there was a little bit of tension going on between KD and Kyrie. I don't think there was anything like really like public, but like I think everyone could read between the lines. And now you've pitted them against each other against, you know,
Does
Luca
Jake
and Chris
really look
Paul.
bad now for seeing the writing on the wall and just getting out early?
Some have to think that he's the real winner out of all this. It's because
Yeah.
he got out. He got out before he, at least he's not the coach of that team now, losing both those players. He was kind of the guy out first. But now you got Luca and Chris Paul. Who do you think now is going to bring more value to their teams? Is KD going to bring more value to the Suns, or is Kyrie going to bring more value to the Mavs? And or if they do face each other uh, in the playoffs, who's who's got the better chance of winning here?
And in a playoff series, I really like the Suns just because of they have more depth. I think when it comes just down to a 1-2 punch, Luca and Kyrie going against KD and Booker, and that's a toss up. But got Chris Paul, and then the big X factor in that series is DeAndre. Guy's averaging over the last few weeks. I think he's up around 20 points, 12 rebounds a game. Big, solid dude, 7'1", 7'2", long arms, clogs up the middle on defense. And you don't have to run plays for him. He's a guy that's just going to get his points off of rebounds and pick and rolls. If it's open in there, you can just lob it up to him. I feel like people don't appreciate the big man as much anymore in today's modern NBA, but having one that's mobile like that can get up and down the court, I feel like can make a huge difference in a 7-game series.
Um, yeah, I agree with the depth, but I don't know, man. I think Luka is one support player away, but I think without Luka, the Mavericks are a terrible team. We've kind of seen they haven't really been performing well. Um, I think a guy like Kyrie is going to help though, because I feel like, yeah, Luka can run the point, but I feel like he's going to get more shot opportunities with a guy like Kyrie who can facilitate the game. I mean, I remember we were saying like on his first game with the Mavs, it's like I don't know if there's a guy who's quicker off the first step than
Yeah.
Kyrie, and you have to respect him when he's driving, which is going to cause defenses to collapse, which you're going to leave Luka open to spot up. But Luka can also drive. He can also then they can motion around, get Luka back up top. He can take over point. I think these two. Yeah, I think as long as everyone can keep their egos at check, I think the Mavs have a real good chance here because I know All-Star break's coming up, right? When is it's not this weekend, is it?
I think it's the following, but I need to take a quick time out. I hear RJ up over there. You go
No
grab him real quick.
worries. Go grab
Right back.
RJ, buddy. I want to hear RJ's thoughts on the Cavs. RJ, what's up, buddy?
Say hi. Somebody's a little sleepy, but woke
RJ,
up,
what's
came
that
out
on
of
your
bed.
shirt? Is that a dinosaur, dude?
Hey, what is that?
No, that's why I can't first. Don't touch me.
Oh, okay.
How are the Cavs, RJ? How are the Cavs doing? Did they come back?
Cavs won.
And what's the best one? And what's this one?
Yeah, play with the bobbleheads.
Now, hey, did RJ go to the Cavs game last Saturday?
He did not. He didn't go to that game with us, but we're gonna try and get him back up to a game soon. He likes to go to the basketball games.
No, I'm going to the basketball movie.
Oh, you're gonna go to the basketball movie.
There's a basketball movie. What
And
basketball
mine's a
movie is?
3-year-old.
What is it?
Is
Is there a new basketball movie out that I'm forgetting right now?
I want to get my show on the basketball game.
Really?
That makes sense to
Yeah,
me. That makes sense.
exactly. The mind of a 3-year-old. It's an interesting place.
RJ,
And I want to play with this.
Okay.
RJ,
I wanna play
are the Cavs gonna make the
I
playoffs
mean,
this
I
year?
want to play all around here.
Say, keep the change, buddy.
Yeah.
Say
Yeah.
it.
Keep the change, baby. Keep the
Well,
change. All right,
I
right,
think it
man.
might be time to sign off here for tonight
All righty, dude. Well, hey,
and go get this little one good.
RJ, thanks for stopping by, buddy. Thank you everyone for tuning in. Don't forget, follow us every week for our bets on Twitter, at recliner__report. Also make sure to check out our merch store, Recliner Merch Store, brought to you by Etsy. We have hats, quarter zips, hoodies, and soon we'll be launching our St. Patty's Day. So keep an eye out for that. Thank you all for tuning in. And as always, keep the change.
Have a great night, everybody.